Hello and welcome back to Traffic Talks. I hope you are having a good day and that you had a good weekend. I'm not as excited as I was to be recording last week because just before I started to record, there was a bit of an issue with a family member regarding today's topic, which is digital dependence. I had a bit of a tiff with my sister about it, but we're all good now. I still have a little bit of that emotion in me right now. Nothing bad, I've gotten over it, but it's still lingering, and it's just because it's so fresh in my mind that I thought, let me not wait to get over it fully to record, because it is something that is so desperately needed that I think I just need to use it to fuel this episode. So let's get on with it. It might be a bit long. I've realized I've gone quite long with my episodes of late, but that's because I'm just really getting back into loving the entire process. I did mention I was feeling a bit off the last while, so I'm definitely back in the swing of things. I've got a second win for the rest of the year. My things that I've been doing on my own have been going very well, and I've been enjoying it. It's almost like hump day of the year where you are in this it's the middle of the year, like there's still another half to go, but it's kind of exciting because the weekend and partying is going to happen at the end of the year. COVID's still lingering. I'm honestly so upset about it, but that's a topic for another day. Let's just dive on in. Coming up with this topic of digital dependence was me realizing that we are extremely dependent on technology. And this isn't new, because ever since the dawn of the technological era, people have loved it. From gaming to cell phones to computers to iPods, which was originally cassette tapes that were played in Walkmans. The cassette one, I used to own one. I need to go find it. It was like this yellow and blue one. It was so cute. My brother and I both had one, and it was insane. Cassettes became CDs, CDs became MP3s on like an iPod or an MP3 player if it was the knockoff version. That eventually evolved into burning your own CDs, the equivalent of a mixtape, and then it grew to flash drives and stuff that you could plug in, or memory cards. And then eventually we now have digital music where you don't even need to download it, you can just stream it off a service. Technology has evolved and grown in such a way, but also we've become dependent on it in such an insane way, especially with COVID and it forcing a new way of living on everyone. I mean, from the news being distributed instantaneously to your phone about the latest numbers, and track and trace applications for people who potentially have been infected with COVID and finding people that they were near so those people can be tested. The technology around it is insane. And because of COVID, a lot of people have also learned to work remotely. I know between my siblings and myself, I'm meaning my half siblings as well. My one sister was just overwhelmed because she's basically the glue of her company and she had to work from home. So the moment they lifted level 5 and they were like, okay, you can start going to work provided you handle the protocols, she was the first one in the office. She got the team to clean it out. She made sure all the things were in place. It was vital. Another one of my sisters worked from home, and she didn't enjoy it because, like that workspace episode we spoke about last year and helping with COVID, she didn't have a proper workspace in her home. So every time it was like, okay, I'm gonna have a meeting and I'm gonna sit here and then I'm gonna work and I'm gonna sit there, and it was never really just comfortable for her. So she never just got into it, but she had to adapt. She had to work from home on different days, and that was very difficult for her. My brother and myself, we made spaces in our homes and we made it work. My sister as well, she had to do online learning. My niece matriculated last year and she had to do online learning, both of them. It was very, very difficult, but you had to adapt to the new technological way of doing things. Like most things in life, it's not about what you got, it's what you do with it, or rather how you use it for your benefit. Are you going to use it to help you? Are you going to use it to hurt you? What are you going to do with it? Technology in everyday life is not a bad thing. I mean, we have microwaves, we have TVs, we have all sorts of things, but some people don't. And just thinking about how people lack basic needs like electricity and running water and things horrifies me. and COVID has exacerbated that for those people, which I can't even imagine. So for those people who do live in those types of circumstances, not having a job is insane. Because me, I'm lucky. I could adapt. I could go home. I could work from home. I would be fine. There are people who used to go out and work and then come back. And if they didn't, then they didn't have money for the day. And that is horrendous to even think about. And then we have people who, like them, are completely affected by this COVID where they can't work. Me, I've been a little bit inconvenienced, but I've looked at the bright side and made it work for me, and I've adapted using the technology. There are people who have been dependent on technology for their job, like influencers, like YouTubers, streamers, those kinds of people who have been doing it from home. So for them, COVID hasn't been that much of a disturbance. Maybe it's been a slight inconvenience in their relaxation time, because if they're doing YouTube full time, they're probably recording themselves during the day, a few episodes, or vlogging or whatever. So for downtime, they maybe leave their home and now they can't do that as much. But it was still something that they were dependent on and they were used to. Having technology like that and being able to create an income from it is amazing. But once again, it's what you do with it. There are people who don't utilize technology, and that to me is a bit, I don't want to say stupid, so I won't, but I will say it makes me question what you actually think. Because, for example, a coworker that I used to work with at a previous job had a family member who doesn't use a microwave, and that blew my mind. Like, just think how many times you use your microwave in a day, and this person doesn't have one because they're very old and they firmly believe like microwaves cause cancer and radio waves and radiation, all those kinds of things. And I was just like, we have the technology, people. Like, we have the technology where we can Google things and we can educate ourselves. Why aren't we using it? I mean, technology has taken over a lot of basic things that we used to do. For example, we can order groceries via our phones. We can get takeaways delivered via our phones. You know, even big ticket items like fridges, air fryers, flippin' couches, anything you need, you can use your phone and have it sent at the push of a button. And people not making use of that is beyond me. If there is a lack of service delivery, if I can put it that way, where they don't have Wi-Fi or don't have money for data or things like that, it's completely understandable. But there are ways where we can learn things, and not wanting to learn is beyond me. We are moving towards a very technological age. I don't firmly think we are there yet, but we are swiftly moving along. We have VR technology, we have cars that are driving themselves, we have people going to flippin' vacation in space. We are there, and people need to adapt and catch up, or they will get lost and left behind. And that is no joke. One thing I've definitely learned about being dependent on technology is that I'm not as dependent as I think I am. I'm not a big social media person. I can live without my phone. I'm not gonna die. But there are a lot of people who aren't. A prime example of this is when we had load shedding recently, and they were going for hours. Like, there was sometimes 2 to 3 times a day where we would load shed for the full 2.5 hours. 3 minutes after the time we're supposed to start, lights out, dark, fully in load shedding. And then they would put us off for the most of that 2.5 hours. So sometimes we would literally be out for like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And that is insane because it was never that long. But I've always been someone who could entertain myself, and especially when that happened while I was working, I would journal, I would meditate, I would take the time out to maybe have a nap or just catch up on some extra tasks I've been meaning to that didn't need electricity, and I'm just be like, I can just do that. It's not an issue for me. But other people, ooh, shame. Other people really had a tough time. There is actually an app available for load shedding schedules where you can put in your location and it will notify you when the lights are going out in your area. So you can literally prepare. And there are people who are like laptops charged, power bank charge, phone charge, like candles nearby or a torch or something. So if the lights go out, they are ready. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter because I've got other things to occupy my time with that aren't dependent on technology. And that is a good thing for me, but it's very weird to me to be that dependent on technology and actually fear when there's no lights or electricity, because I'm not someone who puts value in materialistic things to such a high extent. Yes, I'm a quality over quantity kind of person, but it's not gonna make or break me in terms of what I have. If I can get by and just be happy with what others would consider an average life, I'm gonna do me. I've got my plans, I know what I want, and I actually called my mom out on this the other day. I was like, Mommy, this is all your fault. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you have made sure I've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. And you know how that lifestyle is hard to maintain? Like, I'm not earning that much money. Like, how dare you, Mom? And she's just like, it is what it is. And I'm just like, thank you. Because it's something that I've needed to come to terms with in terms of I'm not going to settle for second best. And as weird as that may sound, or as obscure as that may sound, it's like, I am no one's second choice. I will not have something that's second best. I will not settle for something I don't think is worthy. And I don't mean that in a vain sense of the word. I don't mean that in any conceit that I'm better than A, B, and C. I like what I like, and I will not go for something that is not worth it, in my opinion. I have no problem buying secondhand things. I have no problem buying pre-loved, pre-used, pre-owned, whatever you want to call it, items, because it still has value in my eyes. Some people will be like, no, it's tainted, it's been used. I'm just like, it's just as good. There's nothing wrong with putting in a little bit of elbow grease, like, not the end of the world. I was just like, that's weird. And for me, I actually prefer the older things. So I'm not going to settle for second best, but I do like the older technologies, the older things, the harder to come by things. For example, I have a whole bunch of CDs, a whole bunch of cassette tapes. My mom actually gave me 2 vinyls the other day, because I did post a picture of my gift that I got for my birthday. That is a record player, CD player, tape cassette player, like everything in one. And it's got Bluetooth. So if I do want to listen to the newer songs, I Spotify and then Bluetooth it to the machine. But I also enjoy listening to my vinyls, to my CDs, to my cassette tapes. Like, there's nothing better. And I really, really enjoy that. But we have the technology to make sure there's still a modern touch to it. I don't know if I'm making sense at this point, so I'm just gonna keep going. So I am a technology addict. I will not deny that, but I don't think I am a slave to the technology that I have. There are days where I don't touch my laptop or computer aside from work, and that's it. Sometimes I'll just ignore my phone because there's no one blowing up my phone, but also it's just like, I'd rather read a book. It's not the end of the world to me. I've also taken to doing old school versions of things. I know I used to journal on like a virtual platform kind of a way, but now it's become part of my evening routine to journal by hand in a book. I've spoken about this a lot, and that to me is the best, especially because it takes me away from my phone, away from the blue light at night on the phone, all those kinds of things, and helps me settle my mind for the night, especially by helping me get out of my head and my headspace and just empty out all the rest of the emotions that I've had through the day. And that is an absolutely amazing thing, because whether we realize it or not, technology and this digital dependence we have on our devices has actually affected our mental health. There are stats that show the focus students have these days is about half, between a quarter and a half, to what our generation had. And to think that people can only concentrate between 5, 10, 15 minutes, whereas we could focus for about 40 minutes, is insane. And it's all because of technology. There are also other issues, especially these days because of like Instagram and filters and things, that are causing all sorts of body dysmorphia or body issues. And that's just terrible. And that's why I say we have control over the technology we use. I'm not on Instagram a lot, and I've spoken to a friend about this last week, where I said, if I don't like what someone is posting, or I'm not for their content, I don't follow them. I don't like them. I don't subscribe to them. It's my choice to view what I view. And if I don't like it, I have a choice to leave it alone and not do it. That's me. And I think people don't accept that as readily as they used to, and that's where these blurred boundaries come in, because it feels like an obligation. For example, if you follow a certain person, it's expected they follow you back. If you help someone out with something, they expect to help you out with something back. There's this almost guilt of reciprocity between you, and that is just weird to me. You should do something out of the goodness of your heart, not because you're looking to earn a favor. I do think, like I say, we are responsible for curbing our technology use. And honestly, my screen time is mind-blowing. It will put anyone to shame. Because on an average day, I work between 8 and 5 and I'm on a computer screen the whole time. When I'm not on my computer screen for work, I'm probably on lunch and relaxing in the evenings, and I'm watching TV for at least 2 hours a day. Then I usually work on my laptop at night, which is more light and more screen time. And in between that, I'm obviously on my phone from when I wake till an hour or so before I go sleep. And this was one of the reasons why I mentioned changing my wall screen and my wallpaper and my lock screen, because seeing these things that motivate you to want to do better for yourself has actually made a difference in my technology habits. Practice what I preach. I mentioned this last week. An example of this was me picking up my book instead of picking up my phone. So I basically walk around with my phone and a book on top of one another. And if I feel like, I just want to pick up my phone and check it, I will try and unlock it, see my wall screen and be like, do I just want to waste time, or is there something I actually needed to do on my phone? Like research something, edit a script, something like that. And if not, I'll put the phone down and actually maybe read a page or two, just to do something more productive with my time. I can honestly say I have a few ebooks, I have listened to audiobooks, but I still prefer physical books. And I'm currently reading a different book on diabetes, and it's a bit clunky and a bit heavy to get through. So I'm busy rereading certain parts, but for me, I enjoy reading, so it's never been an issue. But it's a habit that you can change. Another habit that I'm trying to do is be more productive when on my phone. So like I said, I will see my wallpaper and be like, am I going to do something productive or not, and try and do something else. However, if I know there is something I needed to do for my podcast or research something, I will do so. I do have Google Docs on my phone. I can easily copy and paste something that I'm researching from my phone into the Google Doc and be able to edit it on my laptop tonight. So I am still using my time wisely, but it's because we have the technology available to us. I can also edit a script if I'm not, or work on a piece of writing that I'm doing. But there is options. My third and final habit that I would say around technology that I've definitely been working on is at night, where I have an alarm that goes off at about 10 o'clock, and that is my warning to start switching down my things for the night, or rather turning them off. So I will finish whatever I'm doing on my laptop, close it off, shut it down, do all those kinds of things, and set my watch alarm. So I have a Fitbit, and I will make sure my Fitbit alarm wakes me up instead of my phone alarm, so that I don't get caught up in all my notifications. So what I do is I put my watch's alarm on at night, turn off my data and my Wi-Fi on my phone, and then I start journaling. Once I'm done journaling, I will then meditate for a little while and then go sleep. When I wake up in the morning, I will switch off my alarm on my watch, turn on my Wi-Fi, and let my notifications load while I get on with the rest of my day. Because once you lay in bed and you actually start scrolling, you're hooked. And the next thing you know, 20 minutes have passed and you've wasted your time. So don't get caught up in that. Trust me. Make sure your technology works for you and you aren't a slave to it. I think I'm going to wrap this episode up here. I've been talking for way too long, but I definitely want to maybe revisit this later. Like I said in the beginning, life is what you make it, and so is technology. We have a choice, people, a choice about how we spend our time and how we use things to benefit us. Technology is one of those components in life that are so evolutionary, it's not gonna go away fast. Like, trust me on that. So make the most of it. The song of this week is called The Time by Black Eyed Peas, also known as Dirty Bit. And honestly, the entire album could pass as the song of the week because it's just so futuristic, tech-ish in its sound that is just amazing. Even the music videos for all the songs that were on it were insane, as well as for the other album called The End. So I have no more words left. That is it from me. If you liked this episode, please leave a heart. If you have any comments on it, leave them down below. You can check out my Instagram, and I will leave a link for that below in the description box. And as per usual, keep being a better being. I'll see you guys next week. Love you. Bye.